My name is Taufen Wessells. I'm in the Urban Studies program, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about a program called Livable City Year that maybe you've heard about over email or elsewhere. I want to tell you about how the model works, but I also want to introduce some of the research questions that we're following with respect to this program, myself and two co-directors at UW Seattle. Some of these questions link into my agenda as a planning scholar. I'm an urban planning and public policy scholar, and I'm going to introduce and talk a little bit about how I envision or think about Livable City Year as purposefully engaging the leadership role for the university, not for individual faculty, but engaging a kind of collective and integrative leadership model it's a fee-for-service program, essentially. So I'm questioning the social production of knowledge of the university and how we as teachers and engaged faculty can show that leadership in our region. About me, I'm an associate professor. I do have a social media account on Twitter. I don't post that much, so I don't know how useful that is. And most of my research actually is on waterfront redevelopment, although this is part of an agenda that actually has been driven by being here at UW Tacoma around the role of the university and an urban serving university. Okay, Livable City Year, what is it? It's a model that was started at the University of Oregon called Sustainable City Year. It's grown to be nationwide, and it is basically 20 to 25 projects that the city defines and the university across departments, faculty, classes engages with. It's in its second year at the University of Washington. The Tacoma City put in a proposal last year, 30 projects. Lo and behold, they were chosen. And so, boom, we're the new partner. And that's my role now as a co-director, is recognizing that we needed a presence here at UW Tacoma. A really important thing about this model is that the communities choose the projects. They define what they need done, and they put in this proposal. They respond to an RFP. So the partnership really starts with their needs and their definition. This is an example of a project as it was defined. Actually, my colleague, Dr. Llerena, is leading this right now. Transit station area placemaking, working in an urban design class to bring students to envision what could happen for these transit-oriented developments throughout Tacoma. This is an example of once the scope of work is determined between the faculty member and the project lead, it sets very clear terms for how the students engage the work. And so you see them at a charrette and conducting interviews last year in Auburn and as part of that partnership. So the first focus here is on the students being excited about being in the field. I know many of you already do this kind of teaching, so you know students love it. They like to be engaged, they like to be out. The difference with Livable City Year is that it is coordinated around a collective model and that collective impact. So the image of students digging in, this is a project last year of tracking food waste and providing recommendations to the city of Auburn. You can see the kind of joy of digging through trash, but kind of exemplifying that, like, you're in the midst of it. The really cool thing about Livable City Year is that you're then part of this presentation where students get these professional skills. I think that's one of our regents, listening to two students who have then this sense of professionalization and kind of work experience and being seen. As an urban planning scholar, I can tell you that we know an awful lot about what's wrong with cities, what's happening with urbanization. This is what fills our journal articles, our panels, our blue ribbon sessions, that urbanization is struggling. One of the things I'm interested in from a research perspective is how Livable City Year can help to politicize this research. And I use politicization in a positive sense, following the critical planning literature that basically says, how can we get people to care about these things and do things differently? In fact, and the point of the last cartoon is that, just writing our journal articles and going through the regular rigmarole of academia is certainly not getting us where we need to be. So urban governance impact through an economy of scale that's based on practice and trying to move the needle through what is actually happening in cities. Another way of thinking about this that I think about it is a different kind of tech transfer. Again, there's a lot of knowledge about dynamics and phenomenon in cities and with urbanization. So how do we translate that knowledge into practice? The questions that we have about students, the question of what do students leave with as UW grads, in addition to skills and professional development and job readiness, we're asking questions about their interest in and inclination towards public service using a construct called civic mindedness. This is developed at Indiana University, Purdue, I can't remember exactly. So there's a the construct model will come up in a moment. We're starting to try to incorporate this into our evaluation metrics so that we are getting a sense of whether, in fact, students come to think about government differently, come to think about their commitment to engage in collective questions and commit to a role with their fellows in pursuing some notion of the common good. So the research questions: does Livable City Year influence urban governance and professional practice? That's the politicization. And does it improve and expand educational outcomes? Those are the civic mindedness. Finally, I'm just got a piece out now building on the idea of the university as a boundary object. This is from Science and Technology Studies, the idea of a boundary object that brings together and convenes and enables collaboration across boundaries. However, I'm arguing for the university as a boundary object that is not neutral as a convener, but that in fact takes on a normative and moral role in the knowledge production and implementation of some of what we know about what would help cities and urban regions to be more livable and more sustainable and more just. 5 minutes goes really fast. I think that's about it, actually. I had all these lovely little note cards written up. But to conclude, we're really recognizing that many people, and I'll just kind of share with you, you probably know that faculty here on the Tacoma campus have a long tradition, and many of us came here because we were committed to and wanted to do this kind of community-engaged learning. The Livable City Year model is intended to, in some ways, kind of simplify and clarify what faculty, it won't be for everybody because there's a little bit less discretion for the faculty member. The trade-off is that we think that there's a collective impact when there's a kind of all-in mentality that everybody's working in the same city, that the sum of the part, the whole, this is really much more powerful than the sum of the parts. So it's kind of an economy of scale where experiential and project-based learning is streamlined and beneficial for our partners, for students, and hopefully for faculty as well. Thank you.